Minister, you recently said that you and your government believe that NGOs should be paid more, and that was in response to a question about NGOs like The Wheel saying that they're unable to recruit staff due to supposedly inadequate pay. But The Wheel itself has effectively doubled its workforce in the past 7 years. The McVerry Trust, the Irish Refugee Council, Barnardos, the Free Legal Aid Council, and so on. All of these organisations have grown their staff dramatically over the past number of years. So for a sector that already receives around €6 billion and which is clearly not in recession, is it appropriate to give them even more of the public's money?
So the question I was responding to was specifically in relation to Section 39 organisations. They're engaged in a process, the Workplace Relations Commission at the moment, with a view to getting a pay rise. Government have offered them, have given an offer. I feel these organisations need to be paid more. I suppose what you need to be aware of in the Irish context as well, we have a bit of a hybrid system here in terms of public services, and particularly when you look at Section 39 organisations. If you look at other European countries and the services that are provided to people with disabilities, for example, it's often directly provided by the state, but historically, for various reasons, NGOs have stepped in to provide services that the state would provide in other countries as well. So that's why it's important that they're rewarded, and it's important, and it explains why they have such importance in the Irish context as well.
Well, I mean, Minister Paschal Donohoe has admitted in the past that many of these organisations are also simply involved in advocacy of various kinds, and obviously some do the work that you're describing, but other ones are more involved in sort of political campaigning work. Is that really something that the Irish public should be funding, that sort of work?
There's a very broad range, I suppose. When we talk about NGOs, it can mean so much, from organisations with opposing positions to service providers to those involved in campaigning, and or a mix of both as well. I think for a healthy democracy, it's important that there's some support given to organisations that advocate, particularly those who, for cases of people who are on the margins of society as well, and that their case are made. But it's also important that these organisations retain independence as well. And I know from working in the sector myself in the past that independence and independence of voice is very important. And that's why I think community and voluntary sector organisations still cherish their ability to fundraise privately and to gather their own funds as well, and to not be dependent on government funding.
Well, you say that it's important to fund opposing views and various political persuasions. Would you be willing, in principle at least, to commit to funding more conservative NGOs, let's say, that advocate for, just to pick an example, say pro-life positions? Would that be something that you would stand over?
Well, I can speak to the ones under my own department in that we have a focus. For example, the Scheme to Support National Organisations generally promotes organisations that advocate for social inclusion and equality and so on, and they're the main criteria in that regard that's funded under that scheme as well. I would say every government department, pretty much every government department, has a relationship with the community voluntary sector, and part of my role in the Department of Rural and Community Development is to encourage all government departments to, I suppose, enhance their relationship with the community voluntary sector, enhance their understanding of it as well, and grow that relationship, because it's healthy, I think, to understand what's happening on the ground for people from a diverse range of views as well.
But just on what I asked though, again, would you be in principle willing to support a more conservative NGO in theory if such a organisation was to apply for funding, let's say?
You know, a lot of the decisions on who and who doesn't get funding are taken out of my hands.
But I'm asking about in principle. I'm asking you about the principle of the matter. If it was up to you, would that be something you would support?
There's an objective process undertaken to fund different NGOs under different schemes that have different priorities under government policy as well. So it needs to be in line with government policy of the day.
So that's a no.
Question to yourself.